If you've ever thought about leasing out a house you've owned, an apartment, a townhouse, you might want to hold off on that because I'm going to show you how a tenant managed to turn a home from this to this. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for coming by. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. And I have a bit of a different story for you today. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to preface this with everything is alleged, although there is a lot of video evidence. Everything is alleged. So today we are going to explore the story of Hallie Wood. I will put her TikTok handle up here in the video if you want to go see the videos yourself. I know I am someone who sometimes I want to see the video first and hear the commentary, and I don't want to take her views away. So I will put that over here for you to look at. But Hallie Morgan and her husband Ainsley, they've been featured actually in People magazine with this. I'm going to link the article to that below if you want to read that in the description. They leased out their family home to two women, Poore and Kathleen Kennedy. And these two women are accused of having flooded their apartment. Now, Hallie does go into detail about why she believes this is. And I'm going to play a clip of that for you now so that we can all watch it together.
Caitlin and Kathleen, they moved in on Super Bowl Sunday and were only in the property for a week's time. When they moved in, they were informed that there was some paint touch-ups that needed to be completed in the kitchen just due to the removal of the popcorn ceiling. Ultimately, they were unhappy that this didn't happen in the expected timeline, but did express just how grateful they were for my husband's overall communication, especially because they had apparently had a bad experience with a landlord in the past, which should have been foreshadowing maybe. But once they moved in, they had an extremely nitpicky list of demands in their words. They stated that if we did not meet their demands, that they would be moving out. They sent a message stating that they had clogged the toilet with their own human feces and that we would need to take care of it. And that is their wording. And the wording itself kind of just gave me weird vibe.
Now, I'm sorry, sending a message that says that we clogged the toilet with our human feces. That is such a weird wording. It's such a strange syntax to the sentence. I'm sure you all reading that know that is weird too, right? So just from an English teacher perspective, that's the subject I taught. I'm going to explain and put into words why it's weird if you're someone who does not understand why it's weird. To say that we clogged the toilet, that should be enough. Just end it there. They can come over and fix it. The landlord can come over and solve that issue. But then to continue the sentence with our human feces, that tells you that it was deliberate. First of all, what other kind of feces would you put in the toilet? If you had a dog and the dog, went in the house, okay, maybe. But with our human feces, the word feces in and of itself is not something that is commonly used in language today. You're having a conversation, no one's going to say feces. We don't say the feces emoji. We say the poop emoji. Such a weird conversation to be having on my channel right now. That's just weird. The phrasing is weird. To say it like that is weird. To even use that word is weird. And it's very antagonistic. That's how it comes across to me. Like you did it on purpose. That's how it comes across to me personally.
But regardless, their concerns were addressed. They were told that if they wanted to move out, that we would break their lease. But ultimately, they were upset that they weren't going to get their February rent back in spite of the fact that they were living there in part of February. And they said that they would consult with legal counsel and get back to us as to whether or not they were going to remain in the property. They proceeded to use racial slurs, including the N-word, at my husband. So ultimately, he had a bad feeling about the tenants, and he stated that he was going to go out there and just do an inspection on Friday to make sure that everything was the way that it was supposed to be. So he went out on Friday, everything was in place, and fast forward to Monday, we get a call from the neighboring unit. We have a great relationship with all of our former neighbors. So they gave us a call, and they informed us that there was water damage in their home that was apparently coming from our unit. There's water all in the street. She said she thought it was because it was raining, but she noticed that it was coming from all around our property. And so I asked her if our tenants were still there. She said that they left On Saturday morning, she said that a moving truck woke her up, and she said that they had a crew of like 20 people, and they were basically hustling to get out of there quick. And then we get a call from the HOA, and they told us that they suspected that there was foul play. So as we're pulling up to the property, we see water just covering the parking lot.
So first things first, just looking at this, you can already see the water coming out into the parking lot. So you can already tell how much water had to be coming out of this house to the point where the house can't even contain it anymore. That is how bad it is.
There's water on the outside of our house, water surrounding the property, coming out of the side paneling. The fire alarm is going off. We open the door and there is water.
And again, looking at the door is wet. So we already know the water is coming from the top floor, which means that I just get ready for this. Okay.
The entire first and second level is completely covered with water. It's seeping through everything. And basically the ceiling is caving in. So the fire department had to come to shut the alarm off, and they pointed out where Caitlin and Kathleen had actually unscrewed the toilet and damaged the pipe to where they could tell that it was intentionally done. We saw where both of the pipes on both toilets were destroyed, and the water was turned on, so basically it would run and flood the place. So they completely destroyed our home to the point where it is uninhabitable. And not only that, but the neighbor's home is now destroyed.
Now, this might just be me, but I don't know what kind of person you have to be to damage someone's property like that. I can think of every worst enemy I've ever had in my life at every point in my life, and there's not a single one where I would do this to their property. What could they have possibly done to make you want to do this? The answer is probably nothing. These two individuals just don't have anything else to do with themselves. And Hallie already said in a video that this was something that she planned to give her kids in the future, and I can understand that. My husband and I have actually talked about ways if we wanted to move out of our house, like in the future, maybe to a better school district. The school district we're in is fine, but maybe we want to move to a different school district, move closer to our jobs, whatever. For some reason, we're going to move. Is there a way we can keep this house? Because the way the housing market is right now, I can't speak for North Carolina where they're at, but the way the housing market is right now, buying a house is hard. It's hard for us. We had 2 jobs. Like, I don't have mine anymore, but like we were 2 employed people buying a house. And by the time our kids get older, that might not be something they may be able to do right away. They might need this house. So she not only damaged their property and messed up their income in terms of collecting rent, she took something away from their family in the future. Like, that is something that's very valuable right now. A house is very valuable. If you're someone who is struggling to buy a house right now, you probably know more than anybody how valuable it is to buy a house and not have to rent an apartment or rent a house or lease anything. And these 2 women took that away from them. That is just insane. And they not only took it away from these 2 landlords, they damaged someone else's property who was already living in it. They weren't even renting. Their neighbors. Their neighbors owned it and they were buying it. They were paying their mortgage and they took their home away. That is just insane.
And, me personally, I'm not understanding how anyone could do this to someone's home, especially when my husband was nothing but accommodating and professional with them.
Girl, you do know why. You're Black. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't have done this to a white landlord, but they've already shown they don't respect you. They dropped the N-word and referenced to you and said it to you. It's not even like they said behind your back, which wouldn't necessarily make it better, but the fact that they had the audacity to say it to your face, whether in text or whatever, that should go to show you they don't have any respect for you. So if they don't respect you, they definitely don't respect your property. So you do know why. And that's not a criticism. I'm saying that out loud, mostly not for her, because I'm sure she won't even see this video. I'm saying it for you that's watching this video now. That's the main reason why they did it. It is. And you can argue with me in the comments if you want to. I'm still going to tell you you're wrong. Like, them being Black was definitely a gigantic part of it. Would they have done this to a white landlord? Probably. But if they were going to do it to a white landlord, they definitely were going to do it to a Black one who they felt comfortable calling the N-word.
And it really, honestly, just takes it a step further when Caitlin, who works for Atrium as a PA on emergency, would think it was a good idea to create a safety hazard and a fire hazard in a unit attached to other homes where there are children and elderly people living literally next door.
I don't know what kind of background check Haley and her husband did on these people. I've seen some people say like, well, why didn't you check out their social media? Or why did you check to see what they did for a living? First of all, one of them works at the Atrium. And it looks like she went to Ohio State University, which is a very respectable university in terms of their educational program. So this also just goes to show that educational background and career background tells you nothing about how a person is going to treat your property. When it's not theirs, there's a definite dip in respect for someone's stuff. And I can also say that, again, as a teacher, there are things that I would not bring into my classroom because I have had students in the past at every place I've taught it, by the way, too. And I've taught in suburban, rural, and urban areas. I've taught in areas that are affluent, and I've taught in areas where a lot of my families are on WIC or they don't have a lot of money, they're on welfare, whatever. Every placement I've had every year, I've had students that were disrespectful of my stuff. So there's certain things I won't bring into my classroom because this is my stuff. There's just a dip in respect for it. So that doesn't mean anything to me. You do background checks till you're blue in the face. People do background checks all the time, and they still get like their apartments destroyed. Leasing companies do it all the time, and they'll come in and apartments are destroyed. So that doesn't mean much to me. And then when it comes to social media, LinkedIn, you're going to try to make yourself look professional. But even with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that still doesn't really tell you a lot about how a person's going to treat where they live unless they're filming where they live. So I don't know how they possibly could have really prevented this from happening unless these people were just open with their racism, which I'm sure they're not, especially so you can private almost every account on social media now. Even LinkedIn, you can private. And there's like, look good for your job search, but you can private your LinkedIn. I just feel bad for her and her husband. I hear what some people are saying, like, well, you could have did this, you could have done that, but let's not blame the landlords. There was nothing that they did to deserve this. Nothing. And there's especially nothing that their neighbors did to deserve this. So some things that they're going to have to worry about now with rebuilding is not just mold, but just structural damage, decorative damage, flooring. You can already see that the ceiling caved in. So the ceiling's going to cave in from all that water. You can see just the damage it's going to do to the floor. It's going to completely ruin the floor. And I don't even know what all types of mold could grow from this, but I know that one of the more dangerous ones is black mold, and breathing that in is not good for you. Breathing any mold in is not good for you, especially black mold. Foundation, you look at the parking lot, you can see as she walks around the house, you can see that there's water around the house. So that damages the foundation too. So that's not just even where you're living at, it's the structural support underneath and what's holding the house together. This is really bad. Like, this is really bad. If your property is not meant, it's not meant to hold that much water. Like, we live in a house where our yard, just environmentally, the way the land is, just naturally collects all the water from the houses from around us and from the street behind us. So our house was built with that in mind to be able to withstand all that water. This house has never had a structural issue. It was built in the 80s. It's 2025. And the history of the house has never had a structural issue. And we live basically in Shrek's swamp. Like, we really do. Like, if I can find a video of it, I will show you a video of our house after it rained or something so you can see what I'm talking about. But our house is built to withstand that. Not every house is built to withstand that. So it makes me wonder, like, is this gonna like destroy their foundation too? Like, foundation damage, that's really expensive because it's really dangerous to fix. So this is not just, oh, we need to do a different paint job or we need to replace plaster. Yeah, you need to do all that stuff. But this, I mean, I would be completely irate if someone did this to my house. I would tell you how I really feel about it, but because of the line of work I'm in, I'm not going to. How about you just tell me how you would feel about it, and I'll just live vicariously through all my viewers. I would like to know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think these women should go to jail? I do. I don't know how they're probably going to be able to pay this back. I don't know what jail time would look like for something like this. But I feel so bad for the landlords that have to deal with this. And I feel bad for the neighbors that are having to deal with this. Like, this just isn't fair. It's not right. And I hope that the people that did this are held accountable. But leave your thoughts below, and I will see you in the next video.